Okay, hello everyone. I just thought we'd do another live virtual on the buses locations tour for you today. We're now going to visit Borehamwood, where the spin-off films were made. I'm going to take you around some of the central locations in Borehamwood. If you arrive at Borehamwood to visit locations at any time, or you've been there before, you more than likely arrive at the train station. That's the train station here. You can see up on the wall there, they've got like a mural up on the wall. That's put up by the Elstree Screen Heritage. Pays homage to the industry, film, television making industry in the town. Also, as well, you might want to go and have a look. They place stars around the station and the pavement. Paying homage to the actors and actresses, some of them that have worked at Elstree. And the Reg Varney's star is up by this bus stop here. Can't really take you there because the street view doesn't stretch to that point, if you see what I mean. But this bus stop here, there's a star on the pavement with Reg Varney's name on it. So you take down to street level now. And if we look along in this direction here, just from around about here, at the end there where that big gantry tower is, that is where the gas cylinders used to stand that you see in Mutiny on the buses. So the police cars were being parked roughly where that car's parked there, and when they're contacted on the radio control by mistake. Sadly, the gas cylinders have been removed now. Flats like these now stand there because this is a little bit out of date. This is from 2018, this Google Street View. So there's no flats here now as well. You can just see them starting to build it there in 2018. But now there is flats on the site of where the old gas cylinders used to be. So we'll head out onto the main road in Shenley, in Borehamwood, which is Shenley Road. So if you think back to the opening credits of the film, the opening credits start with the bus making its way through the town centre. And you see what used to be the old post office building here in the background. You see that if you watch the opening credits, and the bus is heading towards us in this direction. And the bus heads all the way down, it films it heading all the way down this road here, which is, as I said, Shenley Road. Very much heavily used in the opening credits of the spin-off films. Also as well, you do see this church steeple in the background with a clock on the top, and that still stands to this day as well, which is always good to see when they keep things like that. Right, so if we turn to the left here, we're now on to Clarendon Road. So we'll head right up to the top of Clarendon Road here. And there, if we look and stop in there, that is actually the BBC Elstree Studios there. Obviously, they make such like EastEnders. Before that used to be the Central Station, where they used to make it, where on the EastEnders set now used to be the set of Alfreda St. Pet, the building site. So here we have the Butler House at number 2 Malden Road. They never actually filmed in there though, it's just the externals that they filmed at there. All the internal shots for that were filmed back at the studios. Now when you see the bus coming towards the house at the very start of the first film, heads up in this direction, you see that Banbury Terrace plaque on the wall there in the background. So the bus was filmed coming up here, turns and stops and drops off the family. Also here, it's hard to really give you the, because the street view doesn't move across far enough for you. But if you remember the scene when Olive goes on the motorbike to check up on Arthur, who's having his fire drill, and she knocks down dustbins. The dustbins would have been around about where this silver car is, and the van. Would have knocked down all the dustbins on its way to, when she was on her way to check up on Arthur at the depot. So we'll head back up onto the main road here. Shenley Road. Turn and go up this road here, which is Cardinal Avenue. If you remember again, the opening credits of the first spin-off film. The bus turns around here, this road here, and comes to a stop right here. And that's when you see Jack has a look at our young woman's pants as she goes up the stairs. and he's introduced. That would have been filmed right here with the bus stopping here. We know that for the houses in the background. Obviously, there's been an extension added there over the years, and the house on the other side as well is the giveaway. Plus, one of my a friend of mine who lives in Borehamwood, he actually witnessed them filming this scene, so he can verify that it was actually filmed there as well. So just heading off down and onto Shenley Road again. Now, if you remember the scene as well from Mutiny on the Buses, the bus was heading down in this direction here. You see the bus heading in this direction. Now, you see in that scene, you see Stan and his girlfriend Susie going into a ring shop. That was Betfred. That was the old jeweller's shop, which is now a Betfred's shop. In that, it did have a newsagent next to it, and there is still a newsagent there, so I would imagine that's been a constant over all those years. It's always been a newsagent there. Now, if you remember, the bus is parked here, and you see the motorbike comes down and crashes into the back of it. So you imagine the bus parked round about here. The rear of the bus would have been about here. Now, when the bus crashes into the back of it, you see these white buildings here all marked out. They back in the day used to be part of the Tesco store, one big Tesco store there. All the white pillars denote that it was all part of one shop there. That used to be the old Tesco there that you see in the background when Olive's in a dishevelled state and all of that, and she gets introduced. So we'll head now up onto the next road. If you remember the opening credits from the On the Buses film. Head on down, we'll head on down here, and this is White House Avenue here. You see the bus, you know that you can identify this as White House Avenue because you see this cornerstone here on the side of this building as a big giveaway to it being White House Avenue, and nowhere else in the street has got that feature, if you see what I mean. So we'll head on up. The bus heads in this direction. It comes up from the main street. And stops here, and there is Turnaround Betty's house at number 20 White House Avenue. So there you've got 20 White House Avenue there. I'll try zooming in for you because you can still see the washing line pole is still there, would you believe? You can see it there. Now obviously here in the film there's you see the bus shelter, and across the road there's a telephone box that gets knocked down. They were all just props for the part, not actually ever there. Buses have never actually come up this road. A telltale sign that they never actually filmed in Turnaround Betty's house as well is there's a scene when they're on the bed and you can see a view out of the house, and it gives you a view of a house like that across the road, which obviously is not across the road there at Turnaround Betty's. You have a look across, they're all single-storey pointed roof buildings, so that's another telltale sign that they did not film the bedroom scenes up at in that actual house. Okay, so just head back onto the main road again, back onto Shenley Road. Right, so if you remember the scene from the end, towards the end of the film, and you see the family coming out with Olive's new baby. There was an old admin block here of the studios. This used to be all part of Elstree Studios along here, now long since gone and demolished. The bus would have been parked around about here. The building that's through the back of the trees there used to be the side building of the cream colours, the giveaway. You see it in the film. It used to be the Grosvenor Hotel. It's now the Elstree Inn, above our Wetherspoons pub. The two telephone boxes were still there in the back in the day, but obviously they were the old traditional red telephone boxes. This all used to be part of the studios here as well. Obviously, mid-1980s, they got demolished, sadly. Now, when they drop Olive off to go to the family planning clinic in the film, That would have been filmed somewhere around about here. Obviously, the road setup has changed a heck of a lot to allow for entry into the Tesco Extra that stands there now. But around about where that wall is where there used to be the manager's house, the studio manager's house, which has been demolished just on the other side of that wall. That would have been, the wall would have roughly been where the sign was saying Family Planning Clinic. And you see Arthur, you see Stan and Jack mocking them. Now, we know that's here because when the bus is parked, if ever you watch that scene, you see the top of that building across in the background, which is a McDonald's now. Back in the day, it used to be the old Red Line pub where a lot of people from the studios, actors and crew and all that would go in there and have their drink after filming in the day. Okay. So we'll just head into what is now, all this area here, this vast area here is all what was Elstree Studios. Brent Walker bought the site, bought the studios, and they sold off this land for redevelopment. They wanted to sell off the whole of Elstree Studios. It didn't happen, thankfully. Our Save Our Studios campaign was started up by a Borehamwood resident, a film buff called Paul Welsh. And he managed to get the studios that remains over there. They were saved, but it was too late to do anything about this portion of the studio, back lot of the studios was demolished. Now, if you think back to Holiday on the Buses, when you see Stan and Jack waiting to go into they're in at the employment exchange queue outside, and then you see them going inside, that would have been around about here, that building. You can work that out from old overheads of the shots of the studios as well. That would have been around about here. We know that because if you look across, if you see when they're going in at the end of the film, you see them, he comes back and says, oh, well, back in the old label again. You actually see them coming into the building, and then in the background, you see a white building with black brickwork right at the very bottom of it. That was actually the building that doubled in the first film, if you remember, when the bus pulls up and the and Arthur jumps out, gets the porter to bring them a stretcher, and he asks them to he says, I'll prepare the delivery room, and they said, no, get a hammer and chisel. These were the old parts of stage 1, 2, 3 and 4, went all the way along here and had dressing rooms and wardrobe departments all in this block here. It would have been roughly around about where this traffic light is there, just on that side. Where it was, sorry. So, basically, the employment exchange building would have been here. Then there was a slip road, and then you had the start of the building for the white building that I was telling you about. It doubled as the hospital in the first spin-off film. Now, obviously, with Google Street View, I'll try and get around here as quickly as I can. So where the depot was, basically, would have been around about here, the front of the depot. We know that because if you watch Holiday on the Buses and where the women's blouse opens up, you can see those buildings in the background there. They're still there, so they're a good benchmark to be able to work out exactly where the front of the depot was, which would have been around about here. There is a weather vane up there on the top of the Tesco's to denote that they actually did have studios there at one point. So the final place I'll take you to over here, this spot here, it's hard to really give you a good like for like here because of the trees, the amount of trees that are here. They filmed here, what they filmed on this spot was where Blakey gets towed by the donkey. That wasn't filmed at, up in Prestatyn. This was filmed right here in Borehamwood. I can tell you that for a fact because of the houses that are on the other side of the tree line here. You can't see it too well because obviously at this point it's all the trees are lush here. But if you can see through here, I'll take you from a higher view. You see those houses with the pointed roofs, the pyramid type roofs on them. That is exactly what you see in the background when you see Blakey getting towed in a deck chair. The deck chair would have been around about here because this house is parallel to it, and then it tows them off in that direction. They chase after, and Arthur chases after them. So that's where that was filmed, around about here. I would say the deck chair here is pulled off in that direction, because this was all part of the Elstree backlot. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed that little tour. This is the Central Borehamwood part 2 of the tour, and I'll just call it a day here, and then I'll cover other parts of Borehamwood in future locations tours.